Hello, Music Multiverse listeners. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio. If you're here and it's Saturday, you know what time it is. It's Album Review Saturday. We're 2026, but episode 25. Well, we're getting this is actually the last one before midpoint of the year. So well, I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
And Damn is back. We had Jeff Crichton as the special guest for McCartney. Damn's back. I think it's this week, and then she's got a week off, and then she's back at it again. Is that how we're rolling?
I think so. I got to look at my calendar.
Oh yeah, you're thinking about whether you're actually going to do one from your vacation. Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a day that I can't, so I'm not sure. Listen, it's still June. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not thinking about July yet. You know how that goes.
that's still June for a few more days. So if you're a regular, you know what to expect. We give our unbridled, uncensored, unpaid for love, hate, whatever about each of these records, three of these, but these three are also on the website under the article section. I wrote about them, maybe a little bit more in there, and there's details and clicks to other links. But you're here. We give you three more, and the three more, a couple of them could have been on here. One of them may be a little too short to be on here, but hey, sometimes we do say, oh, is that a 29-minute album? Yeah, let's take that one.
Yeah,
I need a break. Especially if you're going to do one of these bands, which you can probably see behind me, you need a break.
yeah.
So this is the last weekend of releases for the halfway point of 2026. As I mentioned, it is always surprising to me how fast we get here. Each and every year. This is usually the point too where I feel like I'm behind, like I'm never going to fit it in, like I can't surpass what I listened to last year. And obviously, there's going to be a point where I can't, or I give up my profession that pays and just live off the land. But no, I know this was I don't know. I call it the curse of my father. I'm always wanting to live up to the expectations. Now he always would say he was going to fail in the tests and that. Of course, he did magnificently well. So maybe that's why I use it because I'm hoping that I fail at this, but it's magnificently well enough that everybody loves it.
There you go.
But anyway, I do realize that it's a futile experiment to even try to do this. After I just wrote down 26 albums this weekend that I'm going to try to listen to that I have to that I feel like are in it. But obviously there were more than that. There were over 50 plus that are even and I did write the Sting album down, and that's basically him playing in a museum with his boy there. And that's probably fantastic. I saw the video of it when it was presented on one of the channels, and I was like, "Wow, this is great." Obviously, different takes because it's minimalism, but yeah. So even if Beyond Your Radio became my full-time job, I feel it would be an absolute disservice to try to rush and do that kind of thing. Even today's albums are going to have a little discussion about was there enough time to really grasp what was going on in the vastness of two of these artists. Well, actually three. The first three here, they've been around a long time. This one just forever. Took a 10-year hiatus, but what is this? The album review Saturday 2025 starts off with a band that is easily identifiable, in some cases predictable, but absolutely progressively beloved and a know what to expect. Whereas the other two, which have an interesting longevity and fan base that's kind of in the same longevity, I just repeated the same word, but the you listen to them and their critical discoveries, they can be confusing because the critics can ruin your opinion of it because they don't know what they were coming at for. But there's technical expertise, very interesting. Almost these two are almost as prog centric in their own way as this first band, which just loves their three-letter word. Yes, it's going to be one of those episodes. So yes, Aurora. This is number 24. Now, that might be a little surprising considering the timetable. This band came out in 1915. No, they didn't. 1969. Aurora comes to our ears this year on the cusp of Mirror to the Sky, which was 3 years ago, and Quest in 2021. This legendary band used to put out a record every year.
Mhm.
And you're kind of wondering how the hell they did that, considering mastermind of it all, and how they came to conceptualize most of this. Hell, the artwork would take me several years to
Oh yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Although those first several albums, those first three, I didn't think there was any of that going on. I
I
think
don't think so.
they just took a picture and said that's the album cover.
Yeah.
So this band started in '69, so we are now in the 57th year. Lineup changes, solo careers, changes in music industry, as well as 10-year hiatus that happened right after the Magnification album, which also doesn't have that kind of record cover. Um, they have not come close to making this band a thing of the past, honestly, in my opinion. And I'm not like a beloved yeser. Okay. I'm more of a maybeier. While their greatest work is probably layered in the past, the artist that um, that kind of maintain this whole prog thing, those that have come in and out, as well as the cover art too, has this historical value to it. And when you listen to an album, you realize the historic level of it, the maintenance, the rooted progressive, no matter what the incarnation, the producer, or the conceptual position of the record. This is what continually keeps this band absolutely forefront of interest. Their capabilities at the instruments kind of define and design everything about them. So this is, kind of go back to the 70s, but even though it can be lost in generation, on a generation, or generationally challenged album by album, but how? See what I did there?
Yeah.
How indeed. Let me be blunt, and then we can move past this. You don't like Geddy Lee's voice. You're troubled by, but you love the Bee Gees. Come on, there's a vocal thing here that is disruptive to me, my ears. Like somebody in the jazz world that, and when the things are out of sequence, can't handle it. You love Steve Howe's voice? I don't think you do. He's in the background, right? But wait a goddamn minute. Can we just confirm something to start? John Anderson is an interesting vocalist, a bit unlikely. He's harbingered by his restrictive range. He brings it, but it's only so far, right? But somehow it just works. The harmony, the vocal pitch, the vitality gives off a harmony that's slanted in some higher register that actually defines their arena of prog. It's crazy. The current vocalist, Davidson, who has been with the band now since 2012, could be the argument of the guy from AC/DC. They found
Yeah.
the exact same guy somehow.
It's crazy.
I literally can tell you that I went back through the catalog 4 times to go, who was singing? Who was, how did, I don't know. Maybe it's something everybody can do. No, I don't think it is. Right. Um, and then there's the cool return to giving the keyboard a funk retro upgrade where you might think someone's returned. But he hasn't. This is all hands on deck. It's an absolutely killer track, and I love the timing and tone of it. It gives me that 90125 feel, and it really was time for something because that vocal was falsetto-ish, whatever the hell it's called. I don't even think it's falsetto. I don't know what it is. It's false meadow. It was getting to me, right? Now here's the kicker. They didn't leave all hands on deck to live on its own on this album. Standing out, they got Outside the Box, great tune. They go there too. There's all kinds of distinction that makes this album seem like it's today and not yesteryear. And they try some things and they go for it. There's even gated drum work from the 80s in here. I thought Phil might have been at the gate. They even do a little signature electro harmony, which I thought was cool. So, yes, the album technically ends on what I've been known to say is that wimpy prog, that whiny prog. But it's yes. Is it yes, Deb?
I thought so. I mean, gosh, they're almost as been around as long as I have been on this earth, which is crazy because it's just one of those bands that is just it's hard for me to remember a time that they weren't in my psyche, you know? So um and I've been a fan. I think because they were so their prog is what I began to judge other prog against. I could hear things in ELP that I went, yeah, then maybe they got that from Yes. And then, Genesis, maybe they got that from Yes. It was hard. The lines are sometimes blurred between one prog band and the next. But yes, of course, John Anderson's vocals set that apart. I've always been a big fan of Chris Squire. I mean, he took a bass and made it a lead guitar. And that's not an easy thing to do because you keep, you say, oh, poor John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin, like nobody ever talks about him. But Chris Squire, I've seen him in concert on his own, and man, that you've got a good bass player there when you can
Well,
go
you,
see
you
him.
think about it, right? You say Chris Squire. That's Chris Squire. John Anderson's not in the band. Bruford started this thing with them and Peter Banks.
Yeah,
So none of these people exist, yet it still sounds like they exist.
I know, which is so awesome because who played bass on this? Billy Sherwood? Was that who
Yeah,
played?
Sherwood's been, I think, a staple of it lately.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure.
The only thing I can say, and you've talked about the album covers, and to me, that is we've reviewed other albums, and even this year where they've been prog, and we go, yeah, but your album cover left it short because we
Yeah.
know what it's supposed to be. That is no Roger Dean you're giving us, right?
Yeah, we couldn't afford Roger Dean, so what'd you do? We took a picture.
So, I mean, that gave me high expectations when I saw the album cover. I'm like, okay, now don't let me down here. Um, I felt that sometimes the keyboards were hidden in places a little bit for me in comparison to old Yes, but I think that maybe in those moments they needed to be hidden. They needed to be in the background and not just be so, uh, your word, bombastic.
Right.
Uh, as far as some of the songs, I thought the title track was really beautiful. That that had some keyboards that were hidden for me, and I expected them to be a little bit more forward. But turnaround situation that had vintage keyboard for sure. That was Yes keyboard. That gave me the whole little feels for being listening to
Hmm.
vintage stuff. But I and I'm not big on these big long songs. I mean, those sometimes get boring for me, but Counter Movement, wasn't that 14 minutes long? Love
Yep.
that song. Classic, old school, but not old school. Like I didn't feel, maybe it was in the production of it. Maybe that's why this album didn't feel like original old Yes. The production value was maybe better than that fuzziness that we got
Well, you
sometimes.
got the Czechoslovakian orchestra, which
Uh,
definitely adds to,
yeah,
and that comes right out in the forefront of the record, and then kind of moves back. And I think that's why the keyboards
yes.
suddenly fell back, right? Which
Okay,
is
that
fine
makes
because it's
sense.
giving you a different, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. At first I thought, oh, I don't like this, but as I listened to it more, I could see why that was happening and how it worked for it. So I really it was a good album. I hate being one of those people that, we talked about an artist not too long ago where I said somebody needs to just tell him to stop it. You know, I don't
Yeah.
feel that about this. And yeah, I would say that if you had not because I'm not an aficionado of their catalog by any means. There's a lot of albums that, snuck in there that I wasn't privy to. I think if you had played a track off this album without me knowing that it was their new album, I would have thought that was John Anderson. 100%.
Yeah, and you've seen John Anderson live, so
Yeah.
yeah, and not too long ago. So what's interesting here? I said it ended, right? Well, if you have the deluxe version, it doesn't end on the whiny note. It goes to two other songs, and Jam Bustin', which would never, I think, ever be considered a song name for any Yes record, and Watching the River Roll. The first is going to do something and be something from Yes, but you feel it, even though the familiar, it becomes a pop medley. So think of Beatles
Yeah.
prog changer that
Yeah.
kind of goes through a multiplicity of bridges. There's multiple bridges in this particular track. You got keyboard, bass, and giving the vocal register like a deeper backing. Cool keyboarding, and despite the fact that the song might not have a true common sense of a meaning, really, I think it got pulled off rather well. I mean, it's a jam buster, right? Then we get this acoustical flarer, we'll call it. We should have we should have received, but what happens is this was the proper ender, I think, right? I like this better. It's delivered in a more fashionable Yes approach. Aurora is an hour of Yes perceptions that should be a decent addition to the continuing catalog, proving their sound can still be as present today as it was yesterday. And when it comes to progressively active, you got storytelling, musically ultra engaging experience, and they've done it once again. And that's probably three in a row that are decent that you could put on. Now, side note, this album is also a fairly close listening in style to be partnered with your listening to From a Page. Now, From a Page, which was originally a mini album completed back by the band a while ago, and then they released the rest of it in 2026 as a full record. This hints at that. They, again, showcasing that idea that if you played it here or there, you might get confused as, wait a minute, is that an older track or not? Which is just a simple 3-letter word. Yes, good stuff. Now we're in a different realm altogether. I Built You a Tower, Death Cab for Cutie. I think some people say it's Death Cab for Cutie. I don't know. It looks cutie to me. I don't know. I've never seen them live. Wanted to several times.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, unpredictably now, let's call it. Maybe in the early years, you might have felt the records shared a similarity or style and timing to that indie pop rock and lo-fi nature. But when it comes to Death Cab for Cutie, now we're in an entirely different musical mind space that could be popped in Beatles, quirky bare naked ladies approach, or even gritty guitar rock bordering that alt grungy style. Either way, the Washington band here is now in their 30-year mark, and I Built You a Tower is Gibbard's vocal Ernst, and it shines like it does, while the band kind of explores in testing and groove and wilding out a few times to shake the very foundation.
In his search for the end of the circle, he kept arriving back at the start. Having fell every hurdle, she tried to make him feel better. He didn't want to feel better, cause he was living for the wandering. His heart like a dead letter, always seemed he was punching a flower.
But still prove how strong that tower is against the harsh surroundings of it. And those harsh surroundings, of course, about life and the pursuit of not happiness. No. Worrylessness, let's call it. Because I don't think that's really where they're going. It has a long been my impression that Gibbard stands lyrically as a prognosticator of our environment, kind of exploring the potential rights and wrongs of it all. Kind of a lyrical circumnavigator has always been the appeal against that indie pop sensibility and tightness that the band kind of works in. Of course, they always seem able to even push that envelope with some technically savvy stuff here and there that almost feels like an ambient, but it's not. It's like a divergent, or it's just there to upset the framework against his vocal. And therein lies their kind of hookiness. It's their own hook. No one does what they do.
Right.
And melody here at the forefront, lyricism worth your attention, and Gibbert's soloism, vocal harmonies, because he's by himself. No one's harmonizing with him from the band. It's just him. Um, it's just ensnaring to me, and a little bit more so on this record than those of the past. And remember, Chris Wall is gone now, the producer and the guy who really was the statesman of he's like the, we'll call him the I don't know, Jeff Tweedy of the band, maybe, I guess. I don't know. Although his vocal is not, present. Punching the Flowers is the perfect example of nearly all of what I'm talking about. But when it comes to I Built You a Tower, the representation here is more of a struggle to find a place to understand this pursuit of life, well, the pursuit of happiness, and the places where no matter what we do, it still falls apart. The band find themselves back at the beginning, which is probably best, in all honesty, for me anyway.
Yeah.
The tower wasn't enough. It came down for him and the band, for members of the band, but more so for the label they were with. And for the first time in a long, long time, they're now an indie band again because they're not on that label anymore. They're on Anti. So, which is, well, I think it all fits perfectly. But that's just me. What does Damn think?
Well, before the album was released, they released a single that I've been hearing on the radio, Riptides, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for this album to come out because I just love me some Death Cab. So, um, did you know where they got the name of their band?
No.
Okay, it's a song on the Beatles film Magical Mystery Tour, actually.
Okay.
So I don't really know what harkened to them about that, but obviously one of them watched that movie and thought it was an Oscar acclaimed movie. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't. They were young, so. Um, and it's funny when we're reviewing these albums that are being put out by these bands that started in the '90s, and I was in my 30s then, and they were just so young and full of hope. And you listen to some of the lyrics of these bands 30 years later, and all of a sudden they've become full blown cynical adults. And I kind of felt that with some of the songs, and
Oh, absolutely.
not in a bad way
No,
though. I
no,
just
no.
think in a more mature, more philosophical way, which you hope that everybody kind of matures and gets a little bit more insightful and kind of sees what their place in the world is and how we all are intertwined. And I think you'll find it on this album a little bit. And interesting enough, one of their musical influences that they listed is Modest Mouse. So, and I've got some things to say about
Coming
Modest
up in a minute.
I know. It's all great. So, but as far as this album, it did not disappoint me. I did feel it was signature them in a lot of ways, but like I said, the lyrics point to them growing and evolving and not just falling back on what they know how to do. My favorite song on the whole album, though, and the name of the song does fit the way that the song feels, and that's what I love. And it was Stone Over Water. Very subtle, very peaceful. Picture yourself on the edge of a lake and trying to skip that stone, and when it works and your whole homeostasis comes together, you're one with the world. That's how I felt with this song.
Well,
And
what happens to the stone eventually?
stop, Mr. Pessimist.
It sinks, and that's where he goes.
Exactly. I tried to, but yeah, it was it. I was very happy with this album this week. It was a good one to listen to after coming off the few weeks that I've had. So good choice.
Yeah. That it leads us kind of to the really engaging, the easy listening pep talk for the listener, right? And one of the best in the catalog so far. Indie pop rock and flow for this record indicates their ability to, they create a sway, both with the melody and the unique delivery position of each track. The closest I can come to delivery in this, I already said, was Bare Naked Ladies, but the panache of pomp and circumstance is very much stripped away, leaving you surely understanding the sincerity and the musical contemplation that Gibbard articulates, as well as kind of hoping that you'll compare to you and yourself and your journey. Yep. Empathy, sympathy, understanding, and the movement forward to go out and seek it all again, to be better aware. Envy Birds, right, is a knock on the door, and I absolutely love the choice of easy jangle and whip to bring the song to a different tone, or even a great drum fill and that kind of probably goes unnotified, but kind of intensifies the entire piece. Is that clever? Absolutely it is. They even throw in a side of slide guitar in there for a moment. Speak without words, no one gets hurt. Safer when it's quiet is the refrain. But the reality of it is that we're all probably very much aware that there is no safety in quiet or living in a tower, even one built on the success that they have or a thoughtful position that he may have had. Now his second divorce, I think. A manifested metaphor or trying to hold it all together. Gibbard states honestly in Stone Over Water that he's just trying to hold it together. And so are we all. There's great reflection. This is indie pop rock style and flair here that we can all use. That pep talk, kind of reconfirming the very strength of this nearly one-of-a-kind band. Nearly one-of-a-kind. Cool, smart, introspection made for exposure. It got accessibility that's far from copy, but true to the originality of all of us, not just the band. So that goes right into a band that's kind of on the same plane. I can't say it's going down, but they're both in the same circumstance. The story is rather similar to that of Death Cab for Cutie. The two bands now have lost their record labels. They've been on those record labels for 20 plus years, 25, 26. Now they're on indie records. Trials, tribulations, manifestations of all kinds of situations. They lose their drummer, who they've had forever. He dies. It's like this, some darker, some lighter. But the music always intricate, either in simple presentation or heavy in a plethora of genre manipulation, which Modest Mouse has a tendency to do. The band, now independent, I think has had that tremendous freedom. I know from reading a little something that he was on the solo path and then resurrected this to be Modest Mouse. Yeah. So an eraser. Okay, there's your eraser. You know, I'm kind of having to do this a little bit differently because now I don't have my drummer. I don't have, and then there's a maze. When I say the maze, maybe is the maze of just everything that is and surrounding that isn't musical or has to and influences the musicality. There's no question that this album falls short of flow, but that's a Modest Mouse thing. Yeah. You know, you're not going to come along and it's a whole. Nope. There are, don't get me wrong, they've done that kind of thing, but I'm going to start there because unfortunately they revel too long. Although clever and meaningful, Dog Bed in Heaven, give it a skeleton, begins this moment for me that doesn't work, and I have to struggle to come back from it. This is probably the first Modest Mouse song that I'm not feeling a cohesion of vocal, the guitar, and that has nothing to do with the delivery. In truth, it's just hard to concentrate, feel, and it disturbed a great opening 3 tracks that started the record, and it was like that lingering bad wine, and you're like, and the next track comes in, and it's an interlude, and I'm still like, yeah, you had to put that fucking interlude in because that last song left a bad taste in your mouth, and maybe it was meant to, but the fact of the matter is, it actually, when I Can't Talk Right Now comes on, I was still trying to flush that shit out.
I'ma send you a picture while you're standing in line at the grocery store. Crazy stuff I find. I can't talk right now, maybe another time. I can't talk right now, maybe another time. Gonna send you a text on the commute drive. Just a few
and it took a while, but I really think it really came. We returned to what I've always loved about Modest Mouse and how the vocal lyrical, because we're talking about two different vocals here. Yeah, this isn't Gibbard where it's on the higher side of things. This guy's a much darker register, heavier, and in fact sometimes bent and slightly odd signatures like that of speak and spell are kind of that signature of the band. And I'm always when a record comes from them, I'm like, okay, this is not going to be a listen where, oh yeah, all right, it's going to be a listen like, yeah, wait, what? Gotta go back. Damn,
Do you know where their name of the band came from?
hell no.
Okay, this came from a passage from a 1917 Virginia Woolf short story.
Oh, although I didn't know we were that philosophical.
I didn't either. I mean, especially somebody that says their musical influences were the Pixies. So I wouldn't
Right,
expect
Pixies, The
anything
Cure, The Smiths, that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. You've used some words. I wish I had my thesaurus, but you said bent, off kilter, crooked, all of those. That's what I've always loved about Modest Mouse. It's different than that off kilter bent annoyance of jazz that I get. This is different. This is something that, like the vocals in Picking Dragon's Pocket, that had a psychedelic feel, but the vocals that I love, that's where I can say that a lot of times their songs do pull me in because of that vocal that just is different. And it if it was somebody sitting in a car next to you with no instrumentation and started singing like that, you tell them to shut up. But they make it work, right?
And sometimes I think he was French or saying, "Faites attention, listen to me."
Yeah. They had a shout out to Pink Floyd on this album, Third Side of the Moon. Then that had a nice hook, but it was melancholy. It was a little, reflective. Rotten Fruit was the one that was most off kilter for me. That I really like that song. And Remember Yourself. That was a little bit fresher, softer. I like that song. But what was the one? I didn't even write down the one that you said because I think I wanted to get that taste out of my mouth.
Oh, the dog in no.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even want to say the name of it anymore. And it's a split song where it changes, but it waits too long to change. And once you change, you can't undo what you already heard.
Yeah, and I could say that each time that I listened to the album, that kind of would throw me off, no matter how I was listening, where I was listening. I really thought after the first time or so that I thought maybe I'll understand this better with more listens, but no, it just seemed out of place.
I think they had to keep it. Somehow I think it's for the band or something or him or because it seemed like they were trying to keep it the way it's placed. Because if you think about that track, where else would you place it?
Yeah.
You're not going to start the lead. It's not going to start that way. Do you end it that way? We discussed this on another show, which will come up. It's like, maybe that should have been a hidden track. And we talk about an album where the whole album should have been a hidden track.
Oh my gosh, okay. Sorry, Modest.
Yeah. Eraser and Amaze to me hints at what they might have thought they would be at the moment to this next record. And that completely changed because of life in general. Things you can control, things you can't control. That Eraser, some of it, Death of a founding member and the drummer changes things. Ask the Foo Fighters. There's an angst and fumbling in their own musicality in that musical maze that they created themselves, Sometimes maybe you create it and you can't get out. Bob, did you put an end? Oh, guess I should have thought about that. Sort of like me when I write a novel. I'm like, I don't have the ending until I have the ending. Well, if you don't have the ending, this is an album that will take you a listener to, but that's how Modest Mouse is, and that's where they are. It's braver, sometimes a little bit angrier, maybe, or wanting. There's a brewing coming along. Either the solo-wise it was supposed to do and didn't. Should they choose not to completely erase and embrace this maze, that's up to them. Their record should be embraced, though, because if they are going to continue, This is kind of a sign of things to come. I think there's a lot of coolness on this record.
Yeah.
Things that really had some fun with it. And I'm not saying fun from a standpoint. I mean, even this, I think there's uh, if I have a feeling sometimes that it's possible to be impossible without realizing it. What?
Mm.
After all, one of the songs on this record, it says a song is a song about nothing. So sing
Yeah.
along. And you follow me? Probably not, but you will once you hear it.
Yeah.
So the extras. Well, since we were speaking of fruit, I'm always intrigued by the fruit bats. Sometimes I lose the vocal thought process of and an ambiguity of male female, which is strong in this band. The new album
Yeah.
is called The Landfill, and one man's compost heap is another man's viewpoint, apparently. So you're standing on the compost heap, and maybe you see things clearer from the compost heap. That's kind of the metaphor of this record. I want to say that Eric Johnson blends this warm folk. There's soulfulness to it, and it's a cohesive record, which I've had problems in the past with. And I
Mm.
think this kind of elevates them into that. And I can't think of the band right now, but Lanker. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, position. And I think that'll bring some people in. There's a lot of stream of consciousness songwriting here, which kind of is Matthew Good like. But the
Mm.
melody is always bleak. Hope and wistfulness is on the outside looking in. The saddest part of the song.
You find every kind of problem in the world that you could have, babe. You found every kind of love you could lose or whose. Found every little turn to take wrong to get to the saddest part of the song. Didn't you?
Might be the greatest track start of albums this year. Although, spoiler alert, next week there's one that you can't come back from. That's
Oh.
the problem with their record. Anyway, a little spoiler alert. But this album does start to not live up to that beginning, and the band that's on next week is going to have the same issue. Damn.
Oh. Well, the Fruit Bats. They got their name for their band just as a joke that it would be a great fake punk band name.
Okay.
So the Fruit Bats. Okay. Um, you said saddest part of the song. I really could feel channeling of Mick Jagger in the song vocally. I feel that vocally, this band, I might not ever be able to pick out a Fruit Bat song if I didn't know it was the Fruit Bat.
Yeah.
I felt some Grateful Dead feeling coming through, some Joni Mitchell stuff. But I really liked they used a lot of acoustics. I like the acoustics in saddest part of the song. I like Silverfish in the Sink that had a really warm piano that I wasn't so much expecting. And then you had some 70s AM pop rock, from the radio. Think about ya. That was light and playful. It didn't feel like I was on the landfill when I was listening to that song, but I did grow up in Love Canal, so maybe I'm just comfortable there. So,
Either that or they were admiring from the landfill those in the partying in the street of Los Angeles, maybe. I don't know. Because I think they're looking at the Los Angeles landscape is basically
is that
this.
what it is? They're from Chicago originally, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they're from? Yeah. And I have not had much exposure to this
No,
band.
you probably wouldn't. This is a band that is struggling for that exposure that's mainstream, and it's not going to come probably. But the vocal, it's one of those unique vocals, and you think of like there's another Johnson, and I can't think of that person's name, and then of course Lankler or whatever. I can't that band, big something, big and how terrible of me, but
I don't know.
this is where this kind of lies in there, that ambiguity vocal that it has a odd range that's really engrossing if the song is
Yeah.
done well, and the
Yep.
instrumentation. And I think the choices here are better than the prior records, because the prior records go a little bit too acoustic, too plucky.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe.
All
And I
right.
guess that's my memory of it. I never exalted any in this album. I have a feeling that this record is going to put them on some lists, honestly. Maybe toward the back of the list of the best of 2026, because this is an album that first track is on is just it's a wham bam.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't hear it everywhere, so you got to listen to the record. Um, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be there. I just think it's kind of warm and wistful. That's got
Yep.
that. So yeah. So we'll go from warm and wistful to RIPT. Now, rest in peace. I didn't know what the T stood for. I didn't have time to look. It's been a crazy week. But I love me Mr. Dinkles. I don't even know who the hell they are. I saw the name and I went, let's put that band. Wait a minute. Let's see. We got Yes. We got to get something. Oh, a few minutes. This album. Nice. An EP.
Yeah.
Yes. Drop it. Is this punk? It's got to be. The title's Scream Punk.
We could hang out in a park and talk politics, but only if we're on the same side, 'cause fuck Republicans. Do you wanna eat chips and talk shit? I could get us some wine or even champagne. We're gonna have a special time. It's time to refrain.
And sure it is. Seattle Punked Up Kids.
Yeah.
Hell to the yeah. Formed in 2019, the duo. It's a duo. They kind of
Yeah.
mix garage rock with lo-fi punk, post-grunge, raw. Slap it on the ass and call it a song and get it done. And they do it drumming, anchored kind of punk. The production leans into like a slacker lo-fi garage. Like, I don't know if they're anthem, but it definitely they're going to have a problem because you're not going to. It's not an identifier, right? At this point, I think other people are in this. Modern adulthood, yes. It'll scream to some of the younger kids. Me, I'm a curmudgeon adult. I just went to my daughter's graduation where adults stood in the way of other people and stood when they could sit down and take the picture, and just like what I have no faith in humanity, by the way, or society. I think we're done. That's why I listen to music. I'm in my basement, and this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. This is just dumb, unaware, all about me.
Yeah.
And it's only about me. All right. Oh, wait. No. Damn.
Mr. Dinkles. It's one of their cats' names, and I thought that's so funny.
Okay,
And
that
you're like,
kind of makes
"Yeah."
sense.
And you know
Yeah.
what? I noticed my cat hasn't jumped
Son of a
up
bitch and cats. Always. It's always about cats. It's never about me. It's about cats.
And I have to say, I've never heard of any of their influences, so I didn't bother writing them down and pretending that I did.
What were they?
I don't even know.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know.
They're
I
all
should
punk
next
bands,
time-
or
Yeah. And punk
Stormtroopers
bands.
of Death? Oh.
I have no idea. Not like the Dead Kennedys or anything like that that
Okay.
I would be familiar with. So, but as far as this album goes, this is the kind of punk music I like. Oh, and the cat, Mr. Dinkles,
Mr. Dinkles.
jumped up for the show.
The cat's over there. I dated a Mr. Dinkles.
I liked Socialism Ditty. That was fun punk that I like.
Yeah, it was like 2 minutes.
Yeah, and these are the kind of songs that I needed after Yes. I'm glad, nice and short.
Weezer.
Yes, exactly. Eat chips and talk shit. Okay,
Yes.
that is some toe tapping, but punk like. I thought this is so fun. Grinding my teeth. Here's another name of a song that gives you exactly what to expect, because I was a little bit anxious feeling when I was listening to that. But they've got some satirical things on here, which you need to
Mm.
have if you are a punk band. You're supposed to be
Establishment.
establishment people and letter to Elon. It's a poke at you know who.
I wonder.
Uh, it's different problems that what I remember from when punk came out, but the end result's the same. So let's just go spit on a Tesla and and get on with it. But it was a fun album, I have to say. Mr. Dinkles intrigued
Okay. So we went easy. And then by accident,
me.
we'll go to the hardest one of the group. And it's not because it sucks. It's
No,
because we're at slow mo neon luminate hoverings. First of all, Ackhamshire and Halvorson, okay? Um, Ackhamshire, horn, Miles Davis, okay? Maybe the next Miles Davis. Mary Halvorson, we've talked about her on this channel before. Guitar, jazz, acoustic, she will do anything you ask her to do as long as she's at the helm. And she's quite a producer. She's quite a composer. And in this case, she wanted to duet-ish and a horn and a guitar. We heard that before. Simple guitar, horn, jazz, slow mo, neon, luminate hoverings. She needs help on titles. Okay, she just does. I really this blending of improvisational and texture between the two instruments is ridiculously good. It's a little bit contemporary to some degree where you might find yourself feeling a little sleepy or let's call it ambient, but it's not. It's not that dull. It will keep you aware and it does flow and it has such style to it for each artist. And I don't know what it's like for these two to be in the same room together. Who knows whether they even knew each other or whatnot, but to put this together, and I'm assuming it didn't take years to do. I was sitting back going, boy, this is just layered and laid back and nothing electronic about it, just well played, brilliant instrumentalists who fed off each other, came together, and then while it probably seems structured, there's improv too. But this is where Dan will struggle. So she saw the title alone and probably went rut row.
Anybody that's named Ambrose, he's gonna be.
Ambrose Arkenmushire.
Well, the
He's
problem
a
for
double
me
A battery.
is, yeah, yeah, it was a tough listen. First of all, I'm not a jazz fan. I'm also not a trumpet fan. So there's where kind of I really had to push myself to give this the number of listens, and I probably fell short on that as well. Um, we were talking about Modest Mouse and Bent and Off Kilter. Like I said, that's that's about as far as I go with that kind of thing musically. When you get that in jazz for me, I don't know if it was just my musical background in orchestra and in jazz band, and I I am drawn to melody, and when there's not melody, which this kind of music doesn't really have melody. I mean, to me, the the name of one of the songs, again, I've got this 3 times this week, sound check. It definitely sounded like a sound check, because and it was almost like when you sit down to start your rehearsal in orchestra and everybody's just wailing away on their particular instrument, and you got the flute going with the bassoon and they're everybody's all over the place. That's how this album felt to me. And I do appreciate how difficult it is to do this. I do. That doesn't fall short on me. I know that they're very extremely talented, and you have to be pretty much a genius to do this kind of thing. Just like I think composers are geniuses, whether, Bach, how do you write a symphony? Well, how do you write
Mm-hmm.
this? How do you write this and have it go together and have somebody like you that does appreciate it speak accolades about it? You know what? So for me, I had one song that was kind of melodic, and it was Blood and Sand.
Blood
So
and sand.
I picked out a song that wasn't sour. I had some sour songs on this for me. So I apologize for not giving a stellar, just it's just my personal preference or non-preference, I should say.
Yeah. Um, Despite Deb's, review, and that's going to happen with me in certain things too, like power pop. I'm not gonna put it at the top of the list most of the time unless it's bombastically, ridiculously good. There's playful exchanges. There's a lot of texture, and one of the things about this is aesthetic, right? And I believe the togetherness that here is completely kind of slowed. It's infatuatingly aesthetic. Um, I don't know how you develop this rapport over over this time frame in a studio and all that, but um, either she writes exceptionally well so that people can just go with it and feel it, or that just something that just happens and it just comes on. I think this is on None Such Records. I don't think this is like Blue Note or anything of that nature. So um, there's freedom, there's precision here, but when somebody says ambient, they're not talking about they're talking about ambient jazz, and this is music being played, not through a computer or anything of that nature. There's a challenging part to it a couple of times, but not much. It has an intensity, but not that intense. But it's textual depth, emotional resonance, and has this inventive interplay between two instruments that generally are going to have some other accompaniments with it that
Yeah.
and don't. So you can hear every little thing if you're listening, and I think that will probably put it in the 26 jazz albums of the year because of such things like that, and the Julian Lage of the ages and stuff like this, and a return to the trumpet. But the saxophone, I got to say, as of late, has erupted. If you want to look at yesterday's music album for today from Red Kite out of Norway, that might be in the talks two of albums of 2026 jazz fusion. So,
Mhm.
but again, jazz is something that you come to an appreciation of, and not all jazz. So it can be a stumbling block. I'm going to thank Deb for joining us. I know that she was, probably worried about the six having coming off such a few weeks away. And what did he have in store? We will not be back next week. It is the holiday weekend for the 4th of July. I decided not to do a show. We will be back the following week, and there is one song to rule them all. And when you start off like this and you crush it and you make it, damn, it's hard to come back from that song. And I have Steve Scouten will be joining me on the panel. We had a brief discussion, and he was on the same page of like, wow, that track is just way too good for the rest of the record. And if you don't know who it is, you'll find out.
Oh,
We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah, that's the best part. TikTok, I throw it up there when it's, they won't let me put an hour show up there. They're gonna hunt me down and gut me like a fish. So it's got to be short and sweet, and I'm not short or sweet. I'm short, but I'm not sweet either. God bless it.
Oh,
No, no. So anyway, articles, videos, podcast coming soon, all about albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on, even fruit bats that even exist. Yeah, I don't know. So come join the Real Music Appreciation channel. Thank you for watching and happy listening.